Welcome back, everyone. So, how do you feel after the Topukarnam, super brain yoga?
Great.
And the circulation is now brisk.
Yeah.
From a sluggish state of mind, we are now moved on from Muda state to a Vikshipta or even Ekagra state. Or maybe even Niruddha state. Mind is more focused, more silent. Okay. So, here's the plan. In the next 45 minutes, right, it's 3:21. So we'll take another break at 4:06. So the next 45 minutes, what we are going to do is examine the second half of the equation, namely Vairagya. What is Vairagya? And after that, we will take another break. And when we come back, I thought we will examine the subject of asanas. And maybe if we have time, even pranayama. Because that is something we all actively do in a yoga mat every day for a long time without a break, with honor and respect, and with a complete attitude of service. I hope everyone is doing that, right? Every day. So we're going to examine the practice of asanas and pranayama, the last segment of our session today. Okay, let's talk about Vairagya. As Dr. Stroff mentioned before, I think that's a great segue to Vairagya. If we are, hankering for something, if there's a reward, I'm doing this because there's $1 million. There's a lot at stake. If you're doing it with that level of anxiety, or if it's an exam, when we are sitting for an exam, are we giving our best? Right? No, let me share a story. Story time. Right? When I was preparing for my engineering college admission, right, there is something called IIT in India. I'm sure many of you know what it is. It's a big rat race, right? About 300,000 students write the exam, and a tiny fraction, less than 1%, literally about 2,000 students get admitted. And there's a competitive, very highly competitive, most competitive exam in India. It's called JEE, Joint Entrance Examination. So I was a part of the rat race. So I prepared for 4 years, from my 9th grade to 12th grade. 4 years, I prepared diligently. And I wrote the exam. I didn't get it. I didn't get admitted. And I was like totally depressed. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm fit for that. I don't think I have the talent or the sharpness of intellect to clear that exam. And after a few months, my father told me, I know that you are a very brilliant person. Although in this particular instance, perhaps you didn't give your best, I know that you can succeed. Perhaps you can try repeating. Why don't you give the exam again next year? And he told me that, and he said that with so much confidence that I thought maybe there is some truth to it. Maybe I do have a little bit of talent that will, like a seed that can sprout. Next year I might get admitted. And it happened. Next year when I wrote the exam, I got admitted not just in the 2000th rank. I was in the top 150. My rank was 119. So that was like 0.001 something percent of. And it was like, wow, I do have the talent. I want to bring two aspects to the story. The story is not yet complete, but one aspect that I want to highlight here is, today and tomorrow, depending on which calendar you see, it's Guru Purnima, right? They say one of the qualities of a guru is they're able to see the talent in the student, even though the student is unable to see it in themselves. To see the hidden potential in them, although they might think they're failing because whatever they do, they're not as accomplished as their peers or others. If they feel that way, then the guru says, no, I can see the gem in you. I can see the diamond, the precious resource that is hiding in you. There is potential there. Why don't you give life to it? That is one thing. That is the aspect of guru. That's what the guru sees, the talent in them. So it's not, guru is not trying to put something in their mind. It is trying to see what is there and allow it to blossom from within. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is the second part of the story. On the day of the exam, second time when I was writing this JEE exam, I was very nervous because once I already failed. And on that day, whatever I do in that 3 hours of that exam is going to decide my course in the future. So it was very, very crucial for me. It was like at crossroads. My life was at crossroads. The day before the exam, I went and met my yoga teacher, Sumitra's dad. So before the exam, we always approach him.
Magic pen.
Yeah, he always gives us a pen, and we use that pen to write the exam. So when I went and met sir, so he said, I think you are nervous. And I told him, sir, it's an understatement. My mind was literally swamped by anxiety. It was totally messed up. And then he said, you know, if you write your exam with this level of anxiety, you might not be able to give your best. I said, yes, it's obvious. He said, why don't we do one thing? Tomorrow is your exam. Why don't you come here at 5 a.m.? Let's practice yoga. And then your mind will be calm. I thought that was such a crazy idea, right? What do people do? Just a few hours, they will try to remember one more formula, right? One more formula, refresh and talk to their friends. There'll be a lot of fidgeting and more anxiety. And in that 1 hour, I want to cram more stuff. I told him that. He said, see, 4 years plus 1 year, 5 years you have been doing all that. Do you think adding 1 more hour to so many thousands of hours will going to make any difference? And at that time, even in my anxious state of mind, I thought there was some wisdom there. So grudgingly, I agreed. Okay, I'll come tomorrow at 5 a.m. and we will do yoga practice together. Do you know the story?
No.
Oh.
This is new.
Oh.
I know the magic pen because before every exam, we have several students coming with a lot of bhakti.
In fact, even some students who have been out of touch with yoga for some time, they'll suddenly appear.
Yeah, only before the exam.
So on the day of the exam, at 5 a.m., I was there in the yoga shala, and we did a lot of yoga, 2 hours of yoga asanas and then pranayama, and we did some quiet meditation. We did some chanting, the Nirvana Shatkam, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chitta. So we chanted all that, and at the end of it, I was feeling actually very calm. And then when I sat for the exam, it was like, wow, the questions are so clear, mind is working so sharp, and I'm able to give my best. And no wonder I got a good rank. Then in hindsight, I thought if I had done the same thing the previous year, I would have got I didn't do anything magical the second year. It's the same thing. So again, what does this highlight? A couple of things I want to bring from this little event, right? One is to reinforce what I said before from Bhagavad Gita, right? Yogastha kuru karmani. Be established in yoga first and then do your actions. You'll give your best. Otherwise, it will be a mediocre action. There's a very beautiful verse, the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Rajas tamas chabi bhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajas sattvam tamas chaiva tamas sattvam rajas tatha. If you want to bring sattva in the system, reduce rajas, reduce tamas. Do whatever it takes to reduce rajas and reduce tamas. And it presents the other two also. If you reduce rajas and sattva, tamas will come. So if you have to sleep, for sleeping you need tamas. So reduce rajas, reduce sattva. Reduce sattva and reduce tamas, rajas will come up. So like that, all three combinations. So for an exam, you want sattvic state of mind. Reduce rajas. Later on, we are going to see asana reduces rajas. Pranayama reduces tamas. So just before an exam, when you want a clear state of mind, use this shloka, 14th chapter, I think 15th or 16th verse of the 14th chapter. And then immediately following that, this verse number I know, 18th verse of the 14th chapter, he says, Urdhvam gachanti sattvasthaha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittisthaha adho gachanti tamasaha. That means a person who has predominantly tamasic state of mind, they will go down, down, down. A person who is predominantly in the rajasic state of mind, because there is so much resistance in the mind, they will not excel, but they will be stuck in the middle. The work that they do will be mediocre. Madhya tishtanti rajasaha. Mediocre. They will not go down. They'll keep struggling, but they will not excel in what they do as well.
The person established in rajas will be
in that mediocre state. That means the actions, they will not excel in anything. They will not be the best in it. They will not win an award and all that. But they will do the job with a lot of struggle and stress and all that. Whereas a person in sattva, urdhvam gacchanti, that means they rise higher and higher. Whatever field they are in, they will rise to the top. So again, bringing back to that, sitting for an exam, sattvic state of mind, we give our most excellent best. So when our mind is caught up in the result, oh, will I pass? Will I not pass? That is the opposite of Vairagya. Vairagya means my happiness is invested in something outside of me. I am looking for happiness in the event. If I pass, I'll be happy. If I fail, I will not be happy. So my life is decided by that one point. It can be an event or it can be an object. It can be an object. If I have that object, I'll be happy. For example, if I have iPhone 15, it's coming September, right? iPhone 15, then I will be happy, right? And constantly, thinking about it. And what happens when we acquire iPhone 15? For 24 hours, we are happy. And after that, we want iPhone 16, right? We forget about it. There's a great scholar who lived about 500 or 600 years back. His name is Vidyaranya. He comes from the tradition of Vedanta, from the lineage of Shankaracharya. So he wrote commentaries on the Upanishads and all that. He looked into the nature of happiness. So he explains this mechanics of what happens when we get an iPhone 15. But the happiness is only short-lived. We soon forget that I have a nice novelty is there. It wears off after some time and we run after the next cool thing, right? So what happens? Why is the happiness momentary? And he made a thorough analysis of it and presents it in his treatise, the commentaries on the Upanishads. You want to know what he says, what his discovery was? What he said was, when you get what you want, for a short period of time, you have no wants. Because there are no wants, the chitta vritti has subsided. You are in touch with yourself. Therefore, you are happy. And after some time, you are running after something else. One more vritti comes. And you are no longer happy. You see? As a prelude to this, the reason why he came to this conclusion was, when you look at our sleep experience, everyone is happy in sleep, right?
Yeah.
When we wake up from sleep, we realize, oh, I happily slept. And we don't want to be awakened from sleep also. It's a happy experience. So in sleep, we don't have anything. We don't keep remembering, I have an iPhone 15, whatever. It's not because of that object that you are happy in sleep. So in sleep, what is it that brings us happiness? And the answer is obvious. You're with yourself. That is what gives you happiness. But when we wake up, we are disconnected from ourselves. We are not abiding in ourselves. Sada drashtu swarupe avasthanam is not there. And therefore, we are running after things. Oh, if I get that, I'll be happy. If I get today, one of my teachers, Srivatsa Ramaswamy, he is very active on Facebook and Twitter. So once in a while, he will keep posting some words of wisdom. Today, he posted, some people get happy when they eat a bonda. His words, you know what is bonda, right? So they happily eat a bonda. But if the happiness is really in that bonda, then if they eat 2 bondas, they should be twice as happy, right? Now extrapolate that. If they eat 100 bondas, they'll be super happy, right? 100 times happy. But our experience is, if we overeat a lot of bondas, it gives us a tummy ache. It doesn't give happiness. If somebody says, okay, I have one more bonda for you, your eyes don't, wow, one more way to get happiness. We just don't want it. We resist it. So our happiness is not there. That is what Patanjali says. Where our happiness is not, Our happiness is not in the outside world. It is not in an event like growing more muscles. I'm doing all this abhyasa because I want a result. If I get that result, I'll be happy. If you think like that, you are investing all your happiness in the wrong place. It will not give you happiness. Even if the happiness is there, it will be short-lived. A yogi doesn't think about short-term happiness. What is the short-term happiness? That which has a beginning and the end. That's a very beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita. This verse number I remember. Chapter 5, verse 22. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. Adyantavantah kaunteya. Adi antavantah. Adi means beginning. Anta means end. So any happiness that has a beginning and the end, na teshu ramate. In that, they will not revel in such short-lived happiness. Buddhaha. Buddha means a person of intellect, one who has buddhi. One who has buddhi, a wise person, will not hanker after short-term pleasure. You cannot even say happiness. It's a pleasure. So that realization is one part of dispassion or Vairagya. So Patanjali defines Vairagya in a sutra. So we like to chant the sutra, Drishtanush.
Drishtanushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Samya Vairagyam.
Nice. That's the definition of Vairagya. That sutra, he defines what is Vairagya. So let's look at the meaning of it. Let's unpack the sutra. The best place to start in the sutra is with the word Trishna. So, Drishta Anushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Samya Vairagyam is the sutra. Trishna. Trishna means thirst. Thirst or craving for something, hankering for something. Oh, my happiness resides in this object, or my happiness resides in passing this exam or winning this $1 million. So that is Trishna, hankering or craving for something. Vitrishna means we transcend it. We realize that it's no longer bringing me joy. Vitrishna, we transcend that. We are no longer craving for it. That's a realization, maybe because of life experiences. I've been eating bonda every day. I noticed that it is not giving me permanent joy. So that realization. So that is Vitrishna. So Vitrishna towards what? Drishta Anushravika Vishaya. Drishta Vishaya. Vishaya means an object. An object that can be perceived by the senses or the mind. It can also be perceived by the mind. Like numbers, for example, you cannot touch, see, whatever, but it can cognize in the mind. So such a Vishaya, which can be Drishta, can be seen through the 5 senses and the mind, or Anushravika Vishaya. Anushravika Vishaya means Shravanam, means to hear. Shravika Vishaya means the things that we hear. Anushravika Vishaya, yeah, that which we hear about. And Anushravika Vishaya means second-hand knowledge. For example, somebody says, oh, I watched this movie, Amitabh Bachchan, right? I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If somebody says that, we have not seen it yet, but already we have an idea. If I have that object or if I have that experience, I'll be happy. It's a second-hand experience, right? So what is Vairagya? Vairagya is letting go of the craving or the thirst for Drishta Vishayas and Anushravika Vishayas. And Vashikara Sanya. Vashikara means complete control. So with this transcendence of the cravings and hankerings and the thirst, we come to a place called Vairagya. My happiness is not there. That realization, that awakening is called Vairagya. It makes sense, right? So why am I practicing yoga abhyasa? Not because it is going to create a result that then will make me happy. Because whatever we can create happiness, it will also be short-lived. You have to keep doing that again and again to keep feeling happy. So that is not why we do abhyasa. We do abhyasa to serve or sevito, right? To serve the body and the mind. So this is Vairagya.
Ramji,
Yes.
Krishna can be for the higher knowledge also, right?
Yes, in fact, that's a good segue
Yes.
for the next
Yes.
sutra. And so while we are on this topic, so the word Vairagya has different forms. It is also called Viraga or Vitaraga. They all mean the same thing. In fact, Bhajagovindam song, many of us have heard Bhajagovindam, right? There is a statement that says, Adi Shankara, composer of Bhajagovindam, he says, Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. Viraga means Vairagya. What happiness does it not give? Vairagya, right? Now, the word Vairagya or Viraga, Viraga is actually the first word, and then Vairagya came later, apparently. So, Viraga comes from the root word Raga. Raga means craving. Craving. Raga, Dvesha, they call it. Craving and aversion. Like and dislike. Or attachment and hatred. So, Raga is craving. So, when we want to define Viraga or Vairagya, Viraga, the word V is a prefix. So, Upasarga in Sanskrit, prefix. Viraga. What does the word V represent? It can be Vitaraga, transcending the craving. Right? Some scholars give other interpretations. You can interpret it in a different way. One of the ways in which it can be interpreted is, no, it is not Vitaraga, it is Vishesharaga. It's a special craving. And that is exactly what Anujaji mentioned. If you direct your thirst to something that will quench your thirst, then it is fulfilling experience. Right? If you are thirsty, but if we drink Coke, I don't know, I don't drink Coke, does it quench thirst? Or drink coffee, right? Caffeine actually dehydrates the system even more. So if you're hungry, instead of eating nutritious food, we eat a lot of potato chips or popcorn. Then, okay, we are eating, maybe it's pleasurable for the tongue, but even after the tummy is full, we still have the craving because the hunger is not diminished. We are not eating true nutritious food. We are eating some food that is not going to satisfy the tummy. So the thought is, if we are having a craving, that means there is a thirst for something. Unless we quench the thirst with water, a lot of people are already drinking water now. So unless we quench it with what it's supposed to satisfy that craving, anything else will not satisfy it. So a desire or a craving will remain as a craving. If the craving is satisfied with some junk food, then more of it you want. Greed. Either the desire turns into greed, or if we don't get the desired object, we get angry. So whether we get it or not, we still are messed up. The raga, the craving remains, or we become an angry person, right? So what is it that will quench our thirst? That is what is the second part that Patanjali calls as Parama Vairagya. First level of Vairagya is having a clear knowledge where my happiness is not. It is not in external objects or external events. It is not there. Okay. And somebody can ask, where is the happiness? Yes.
So I have a question. So, Shanti, you mentioned about Vairagya can come from like life knowledge, like in the Buddha example that you constantly eat, but you eventually realize it's not bringing you happiness or health. But there is there a danger in Vairagya coming from life experience in a sense? Oh, like if I'm not a very charming person, maybe many people, don't come and interact with me a lot. They interact with people who are very charming. So I get this thing that, okay, people, or at least I assume I understand, like I'm not But then once an opportunity comes where I have something interesting to share, and suddenly I get attention, then that thing that was inside me that you wanted, which you had just let it go because somehow life experience had told you you're not getting, it re-embarks, it comes back to you. So is life experience, getting Vairagya because of life experience, a good way to get it? Or is it inevitable, or we should be careful in recognizing?
That's a great point, right? So let me wait for life experience before I break my addiction to coffee. Because many people's happiness is in a coffee, right? And they become addicted to it. Drink a lot of coffee, and to achieve the same level of happiness, they now drink 2 cups or multiple cups of coffee, right? So there's a coffee vritti that happens, right? So how to attend to that? What can be done for that, right? Now let us look at an example before we answer that question. Let's look at an example. As babies, not babies, maybe as kids, our life was to get more and more toys. If I get a teddy bear, I'll be happy, right? But with our life experience, are we still craving for a teddy bear? Like if somebody gives you a birthday gift, big teddy bear, I mean, it's not going to make us very happy. You see, so our desires are being changing. So like that, maybe our desire or craving is for some other objects now, maybe a new gadget or a house or a big car or the latest whatever. But in due course of time, it will also going to shift. Just like we have transcended a teddy bear, we will transcend a bonda also. At some point, it's going to happen. But again, what we are doing is we are redirecting the mess to something else. We are not transcending it truly. From teddy bear, we went to some other iPhone. So we're just redirecting it to something. So what is it? What is that one thing if we redirect to that is the ultimate? It will transcend us forever. That will be in a place of true happiness. We are not hankering for anything else. That is what the second thing is about. So where is my happiness? Where the happiness is. And Patanjali gives the sutra immediately following that previous sutra. Drishtanushravika Vishayavitrishnasya Vashikara Samya Vairagyam. And the next sutra, would you like to chant?
Yes. Tat param purusha kyatehe guna vaitrishyam.
Tat param. Param means the highest. Like Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, they say Param, highest. Param, the English word prime also comes from the same root. Number 1 or highest, prime. Tat param. Tat means what? Vairagyam. Tat means that. What is the reference here? To Vairagyam. So Vairagyam param. Param Vairagyam, you can say. Parama Vairagyam. Tat param. Where is the Parama Vairagya? The highest Vairagya? Purusha Khyati. Purusha Khyatehe. Purusha is the self. Khyati is a word that we saw yesterday when we defined what is Sankhya. Samyak Khyayate. You may remember. That means Khyayate means correct understanding. Samyak means correct or excellent. Khyayate means to behold or understand. So Purusha Khyati means to understand the self. Realization of the self. Self-realization is the highest Vairagya. Parama Vairagya is Purusha Khyati.
Khyati means to understand.
To understand, to behold. To behold. And the last part of that sutra says, Guna Vaitrishyam. You transcend the 3 gunas. It is the Prakriti that is in the grip of Sattva Rajas Tamas, whereas the Purusha, the self, is not in the world of the 3 gunas. You cannot associate Sattva, Rajas and Tamas with the self. So you have gone to such a place where you are freed from the 3 gunas, you are reposing in the self, you are abiding in the self. That is the highest Vairagya, Parama Vairagya. In order to see how this will benefit us or how the Parama Vairagya experience will remove our hankering for anything else, there's a very beautiful analogy that is given. This analogy was given by one of the great commentators, I forget his name now, on one of the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that's a shloka, I think it's shloka number 59 or something. It says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Param, uses the word again, param. So let's unpack this shloka. It brings to the point what you mentioned. If we abstain from something, okay, I don't want to drink coffee anymore. But then when somebody presents the coffee, immediately, wow, I've taken a long holiday, my stomach is ready. So immediately we indulge in it again, right? So we are not yet in that place of ParamaVairagya. So that's what he says in the first statement. Niraharasya dehinaha. Ahara means the inputs to the system, whatever we eat. Nirahara, even if you fast, your hankering for the food still remains in the mind. It is still there. Just because we are not eating anything or not satisfying it, the desire for it is still lurking in the mind, right? So what do you do to remove even that? The hankering for things outside of us. He says, Param Drishtva, when you see the highest, then all this short-lived pleasure will simply disappear, because, and this is where the analogy of the great scholar comes. He says, imagine the use of a candle when there is bright sunlight outside. When the bright sun is there, you don't come to the home and say, oh, I want some light here, so let me light a candle. It's of no use. Like that, all the pleasures that we get outside, bonda pleasure, we can say, is like a candle. Whereas the happiness that you get by reposing in the self is like the sun. So when you have sunlight, you don't care about hankering for anything else. You are so supremely happy, nothing can match that happiness experience. That is the ParamaVairagya. It makes sense, right? The happiness that comes from within will satisfy everything else, because you see the insignificance of the short joy that it gives. That is ParamaVairagya. Time now is 3:53, so we have about 10 more minutes. Any questions? And we'll take a couple of questions, and I also would like to talk about a couple of practices from the Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali says how to develop this Vairagya. Yeah.
So Vairagya in the colloquial usage has got a very negative connotation to it. Oh, he's got Vairagya, like if he's sitting sad in a corner. Yeah, they have a very negative, like in the colloquial usage, it has a very negative. Is there a reason why it got, or is it just because the common man's understanding of Vairagya is like that?
Yeah, over the last so many hundreds of years, it has got a very colored perspective, where people think Vairagya means to reject it.
Yeah, or to sit sad.
Disconnect from the world.
Being indifferent is okay. Oh, that's not my happiness. Like if somebody goes to a restaurant and they drink coffee, it's not because without coffee they will be, destroyed. That my peace of mind will be destroyed. It's not like that at all. They enjoy the coffee. They don't reject it. Oh, I don't even have to look at coffee. They will look 180 degrees the other side. You see, that is whether we have craving or aversion. We are stuck in the place of non-Vairagya. So Vairagya means a simple understanding that this is not going to give me the highest joy. They still eat ice cream, everything, but they know, okay, they're just playing part of the life. But their happiness is coming from a different level altogether. So yeah, we have a very distorted understanding of Vairagya. That's why Adi Shankara himself, he says, Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. What happiness does not Vairagya give? It gives the highest happiness.
So just to clarify, so Patanjali says that self-realization is the Vishesha Raga, which is, so he
Yes.
both talks about Vitaraga in one sutta and then Vishesha Raga in the second.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to put it. I never thought of it like that. That's a great insight. So the first sutra talks about Vitaraga. Second sutra talks about Vishesha Raga. Wow, that's a beautiful understanding.
Can you repeat? What did she say? What did she say?
Yeah, she said there are two sutras that we discussed, right, about Vairagya. The first sutra interprets Vairagya as Vitaraga, to transcend the raga where the happiness is not. The second sutra, it says Vishesha Raga, specially directed thirst, or that which fulfills that thirst. That is Vishesha Raga.
Anna, I have a doubt here. Just like how Abhyasa can be done krama by krama, can Vairagya also be achieved that way to start off with? Because you, okay, fine, you recognize a bad pattern or a habit and you understand this is not good for me. This desire or this thing is not good for me. Example, coffee. But then if you don't have coffee at that time, you're getting a headache. You know it's not good for you. You understand mind-wise, but that body, that head is reminding you, my head is aching. If I don't have this, it's going to give me a headache. So how do you get over that habit? Suddenly, if you leave, you're going to land up with a headache for the next few days. So what do you do?
I was just having this same experience. So, story time. I was just narrating the story to Sriniji. I have coffee every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Last 1 week, I did not have any coffee. I had the same experience, headache. Shall I share with you what prompted me to stop it? I've been having coffee for so many years. Right? So because I've seen many yogis also have coffee. So that's how I got initiated. About 25 years back, I never used to have coffee.
Yeah.
And we hosted a great a rishi in our city. And he came and he said the first thing he came was, oh, give me espresso from Starbucks. I thought, oh, maybe that is his portion. Maybe I should try it and I'll become a great sage as well. So, and slowly I got, without coffee, my peace of mind was gone. So next month, I'm actually attending a 14-day in-depth workshop on Brahma Sutras with my teacher, Swami Bodhananda Saraswati, in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We won't get coffee there. So I decided, okay, if I don't have coffee there, I'll have headache there. So let me stop coffee now. So let me go through the headache now, so that by the time I go to Kalamazoo, I'll be okay. Now here's the secret. I did the exact same thing last September when I went to Kalamazoo. So 1 week or 2 weeks before my stay there, I stopped coffee. But when I came back from Kalamazoo, I started. But the thing is, all these are small things. It's not a life-breaking experience, right? But you are right. The Vairagya is basically an understanding. That's why there's something different between Vairagya and Abhyasa. What's the difference between Abhyasa and Vairagya? Right? Abhyasa, you can go krama by krama. Vairagya is like an awakening. When you wake up from sleep to the wakeful experience, you do krama by krama. I am now 5% awake and 10% awake. It's just one instead of time. You just wake up.
Yeah.
Right? There's a state change.
Okay.
There's a transformation, instant transformation. Vairagya is like that.
It's not
It's
like
instant.
snoozing the alarm. Just one alarm and wake up.
That's it. Just wake up, and that awakening, that wisdom will now direct your life. The wisdom will tell you, oh, this will not give you joy. So that is the idea.
So that boiling point will come at some point of time.
Sometime it will come. It's like somebody is driving their car very fast in a very foggy environment. They don't know what's ahead of them. But if the fog clears and if they see a big wall in front, will they still keep going so fast? Their wisdom will tell them, no, slow down. Otherwise, there's danger there. Vairagya is like that.
So, what are the parameters of Parama Vairagya? Because on the one hand, we talk about abiding in the self.
That is Parama Vairagya.
It's
the same thing.
Okay, because I was going to say that without Parama Vairagya, you cannot abide in the self. But how do we
How do we
what
get there?
Abhyasa do we do to get there?
Yes, that gives a nice segue to two practices that Patanjali has identified that will help us bring more Vairagya in our life. Would you like to know
Yes.
what they are? So again, Vairagya is not really something that's developed through practice. That's why it's separate. But by doing some practices, it will increase the chance of Vairagya being happening. It's I heard one of the terms recently. If you want to be more lucky, increase your luck surface area. Put yourself in situations where you become more and more lucky. So like that, increase our Vairagya surface area. So what can we do for that? Patanjali gives 2 practices. And after we look into this, we will take a short break. Would you like to know what are the 2 practices that he gives? So one practice comes straight from the first chapter. There's a sutra that says, Vitaraga Vishayam va Chittam. Vitaraga is another name for Vairagya. Vitaraga Vishayam va Chittam. What does it mean? Direct your thoughts towards people who already have Vitaraga. Keep thinking about them. You will become like them. That Vairagya will come to you because you are shaping your mind like them. What they say is, wherever you pour water, the water takes the shape of that vessel, right? Like that, wherever you pour your mind gets shaped by what you think. If you keep thinking about an angry person, don't worry, sooner or later, we also become an angry person. Think about someone who is very kind. We also become a kind person. This is a great strategy to inculcate some new virtue, new values, and so forth. Think of somebody who already has those values. You know, when we examine where do we place our focus most of the time, we keep thinking about things that we love a lot or we hate a lot. If you're indifferent to something, we don't care. So our real estate of the mind, the chitta screen, is taken up by a lot of things that we hate and a lot of things that we love. Usually we give more real estate to things we hate. And what Patanjali is saying here is, be careful where you direct your thoughts. Because wherever you pour your awareness, your mind will be shaped by it. In fact, this is the basis of the practice of pratyahara. Later on in the Yoga Sutras, in the Ashtanga Yoga, ahara, whatever you allow to enter into the mind, be careful what you eat. What you eat means not just the food that we eat, but the inputs to our senses. Be careful. Don't eat junk food. Don't put junk in the mind. So the point here is, wherever we pour our awareness, the mind gets shaped by that. So be careful on whatever you keep thinking. Think about enlightened people. Think about inspiring people. Think about your role model, who you would like to become, the highest version of yourself. So think about Vitaraga, a person who already embodies these qualities. That's why we think about the guru or even a legendary figure. You can think of Prahlada or some great devotee, or think about the divine and remember their life story, the itihas, all that. Our mind will become Vairagya automatically. So that is one strategy. It makes sense?
Yeah.
It's a nice abhyasa, right?
I heard this quote somewhere. You are the average of 5 people you spend your time with. It might not apply 100%, but for the most part, if you think of like people that you're influenced by.
No, that's true. Yeah, the average is. I've heard this, and I think we all can verify it also to be true to a great extent, right? When we change the circle of people we mingle with, what suddenly becomes important.
People recognize that in the corporate world. That's why the internal referrals, if we want to refer a candidate, if an employee says, okay, this person is good, let's bring him, they have given more weight. References.
It does happen. Even a couple who spends time together, they literally start resembling each other as they age and grow together. They develop same mannerisms, or one is able to say what the other is thinking. So the people you spend your time with, or the people whom you keep thinking about, you kind of, in a very unknowing way, you kind of imbibe things from them.
Yes.
Sangha.
And
Satsang. It's a satsang, like sangha.
satsang.
In company.
That's
Use company.
Satsangatve Nisangatvam in the Vajagovindam. Adi Shankara says Satsangatve Nisangatvam. It's one of the favorite shlokas of Sriniji. He quotes a lot. Satsanga, company of the truth, or Sat Purushaha. That means good people, company of good people, Satsanga. So that is one strategy. There is one more strategy. Would you like to know what is one more strategy? And this is very easily applicable, especially in this day and age. So let's see how to apply it. Suppose in our mind, there is a craving that comes. Oh, if I get that new garment, that new outfit, I'll be happy. So what do? I go to Amazon.com and click on that button. In 20 seconds, you can actually order it. And in 24 hours, it will be on our doorstep, right? The desire can be so easily fulfilled in today's world. What Patanjali says is, when a desire strikes the mind, or a craving, that thirst strikes the mind, wait. Do not satisfy the desire instantly. Do not yield to instant gratification, as they say. You wait for delayed gratification. So instant gratification, what happens is, whenever there's a desire that strikes the mind, there's an Agni that is created. Agni is the fire. It's a symbolic fire. There's a fire of desire that consumes the mind. And in yoga, they talk about many fires. There's a digestive fire that processes the food that we ingest into the system. Then there is this Kama Agni, which is the fire of desire. There is a practice in yoga called tapas. All of us have heard this word, tapas. And today morning, we saw it. Tapas means generating the heat in the system. And just like how heat purifies food, you cook the food before you eat, because it destroys the germs and it allows the prana to come up. So passing through the fire is tapas. Passing through the fire. So when the Kama Agni comes in the mind, if we instantly satisfy it, we are not using that fire as a tapas. We are not going through it. So allow yourself the gift of going through the fire of that Kama Agni. Go through that fire. For the next 48 hours, the desire will be strong in the mind. That longing, oh, I need that object, without it I'll be unhappy. Just go through it. Mechanically go through it. Wait. Have that will, that determination to wait it out for 48 hours, say. Just an example, 48 hours. Or it will be a week. And after that, after 48 hours or after a week, whether you punch that Amazon.com button to acquire that object or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what action you take. The fact that you went through the Kama Agni will develop more Vairagya. The chances are that you think, I'm still happy, so I don't need it. Most likely that will happen. But even if you indulge, it is okay. You have given yourself the experience of going through Kama Agni for an extended period of time. This is the second Abhyasa.
This is a technique they say, even any like people who are trying to recover from excessive shopping, anything. That's a technique they give, right? Wait for 24 hours or put it in the cart. I mean, if it's online shopping, put it in the cart and wait for another day. If you still want it, there are chances maybe if you put 5 items, you only want 2 now.
But you have social media reminding that you want it. The same type of ads.
That's what all the advertisers do, right? They don't care
Like
about
how
Kama
they play
Agni.
with the mind.
So you have to respond, not react.
Respond, not react. And delayed response also. Delayed response to use this Kama Agni. So wait for some time, go through that fire. Yes. And it's very difficult to do, because nowadays we have one click and, okay, let me not go to Amazon.com, let me go to another Walmart.com, whatever, right? So there are numerous ways in which we can immediately get what we want. So it's especially powerful when we practice it today.
When my kids were young, like we go to the store and they want all the toys. So we tried this technique, which is like, pick the toys that you really like, take a picture, we will come back for the next occasion or whenever it is, and they keep looking at the picture when they go home and it's sad shades.
Correct.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just
If they're reading it something, perhaps it sticks with them, but 80% cases they are okay now. They don't need.
It's a great strategy. It reminds me of one more strategy, which is keep $100 in your pocket. Maybe today $100 doesn't get as much. Say $200. Keep it in your pocket. And if you want, like if there's impulse shopping, buying, that craving is there in the mind. So go to that shopping mall and you tell yourself, if I want, I can buy this. If I want, I can buy this. I'm empowered. I have the money to buy it. If I want, I can buy it. That statement, if I want, I can buy it, will itself satisfy you. You don't really need to have it. That thought will satisfy you. And you still keep your $200 in your pocket. See, it's an amazing strategy.
Shrirangi, is there a shloka associated with this? You explained the technique.
This sutra actually is derived, this wisdom is derived from one of the sutras in the second chapter. I'll quote that sutra. But in the commentary is where we find this technique. Patanjali doesn't directly give this technique. So the sutra goes, Tapas Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga. The yoga of action. So in that, when they talk about tapas, they say any one of the 5 fires can be used as tapas. And the way to use Kamagni is delay the fulfillment of the desire. And
I have a question actually. So if we use the term expectation instead of desire, then vairagyam or delayed response becomes difficult in human relations, at least in my experience. For example, after a long day of work, I'm coming home and my expectation is that my children would have loaded the dishwasher. Right? Now, when that doesn't happen, the delayed response, only works for so long. I know it seems trivial, but actually this is, in human relations, implementing delayed response is much more challenging than in relation to objects,
yes,
And
that's why they say, whenever there's a negative emotion, maybe we want to express anger, count to 10. In other words, you are delaying it. Maybe by the 10 count, the fire of anger would have come down, perhaps. So the complementary wisdom to that is, whenever there is a good thought, act it out immediately. Do not count 10 because the thought will disappear. Oh, I want to make a generous donation to some organization that is serving the world, they're feeding the poor, things like that we hear about. Oh, I want to make a donation, let me go home and make it. No, open your phone, do it now. So whenever a good thought comes, I remember when I was with one of the satsangs with Sri Ravi Shankar ji, in the middle of the night, somebody came and made a donation. And they said, oh, if I wait till tomorrow morning, then I might change my mind, right? So let me make the donation now. So good things you want to do it. But negative things, that's when that fire comes, go through it, and by the time you'll be a different person.
I know what has helped me in this particular thing is role play. So I remember my party yelling at me, why are you sleeping? Why are you sleeping the whole time? So lazy, just get up and do some work. So I used to feel very irritated. This is my holiday, I worked so hard, I can't sleep right now. But now I'm like working the full time, and I tend to say that to my daughter. It's just that sometimes when we are in that situation for a second, if we just have that awareness, we could just shift role just in a fun way and just go back to your childhood and how are you during that age, or if you could put yourself in that person's situation just for fun to enact, then probably you might even laugh at the situation. What triggers anger could probably be a little amusing looking at the drama. Maybe not immediately, but it has worked for me in certain instances. I'm still not that, but in certain instances, it has. Maybe that should be an abhyasa, or maybe.
That's a good point. In other words, do not get caught up in that character that role that I'm playing in life now. Let me play a different role.
It's
Let
just
me
like
bring
dance, you
myself-
shift roles, right? It's a practice. We do that on stage, and why not apply it in life?
And whenever we want to change somebody, if you want to change somebody so that they are disciplined about loading the dishwasher, etc. So a couple of ways. One way that is given in Bhagavad Gita as well as the Yoga Sutras is be a role model for that. In other words, many people used to ask my teacher, Sumitra's dad, how can I make my child do yoga every day? Right? And then his answer was always the same. You do yoga every day. The child will get inspired by you. Parents are sometimes a couch potato, but they want their kids to be a not couch potato. How can that happen? So when you're an inspiring example, then you actually create that space for transforming the other. So that is one way. And scriptures also give, there's one more way, danda, stick. Sometimes to remove tamas, laziness, you need that. In fact, in Ayurveda, there is a shloka. I don't remember the shloka, but the wisdom says, in order to remove, in Ayurveda, just like you have sattva, rajas, tamas, you have vata, pitta, and kapha. When there's kapha in the system, too much of heaviness in the system, then the best way to transcend that is by imagining yourself as a warrior. Fight with that excess kapha. With excess pitta, treat pitta at an intellectual level. You reason with it, and the pitta will disappear. Why am I angry? Too much pitta might bring too much anger. Say, why am I angry? Maybe I should not be angry. Wisdom says, Patanjali says this is convince yourself. Intellectual conviction will remove the pitta. For excess vata, treat it very, very gently. Give an excess vata person a lot of cushion, pillow, and one nice bed, one sleeping bag also, nice blankets. Treat them very, very gently. Not for kapha person. There will be more heaviness there. For vata people, let them experience all the comfort. So the vata will reduce.
Who says this?
It's in one of the Ayurvedic scriptures. Okay, the time now. Oh wow, it's already 4:19. It's definitely time for a break. Is there a question?
I have a quick question, Shriramji.
Yes,
When you were talking about the coffee, example, when you don't have coffee, you get, say, example, headache or something, you are anticipating that I might get headache, might as well I'll get it done now kind of thing. The same way, for example, sleep. There's a myth, oh, I haven't slept enough. I had slept only 4 or 5 hours. I need to take a nap. And I may be tired. I may drag through my next day. What that kind of notion is a part of self-study? What is it?
Yes, that's a great point. I don't know whether Patanjali makes a reference to it, but I've heard that when we are sleep deprived, the thought that I have not slept is a bigger impediment than the actual diminished experience because of lack of sleep. So we put a big brake for ourselves. It's like driving with the brake on. So the thought that I have not slept is a big impediment. So forget it. Just don't remember that there was no sleep. We simply go on as if nothing happened.
Don't lose sleep over not sleeping.
Oh, that's a good one.
Don't lose sleep over not sleeping.
Don't do sleep over not sleep. Nice.
Therapists also talk about this, right? People who have anxiety, Sometimes they're anxious that they're anxious. That's the bigger thing they have to overcome. First, just to accept that they have an anxiety problem. Then they can, but they're anxious that they're anxious people. So that
Or no, craving to get to Vairagya. I want Vairagya now.
He's like the guy who was saying, you know, God give me patience, but give me right now.
So with Vairagya, it's a catch-22, which comes first. It's addressed once and for all. Parama Vairagya. Okay, let's take a, shall we take a generous 11-minute break? It's 4:21. We'll meet back again at 4:32.
So, who will have chai?
Not me.
who will have what?
Chai.
Chai or tea, you mean?